But we continue our coverage on the next steps that the three Americans will take after being released as part of a massive prisoner swap. They landed in San Antonio early this morning following a deal that was years in the making. We first alerted you on our News 4 mobile app when that news broke just yesterday. Those Americans are former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan in the middle there, the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who's on the left, and a Russian-American journalist, Olsa Kermasheva. Right now, we're told that they are all getting checked out by doctors and will also go through a special reintegration program provided by Joint Base San Antonio. In fact, the trio landed early this morning at Lackland and were greeted by family and friends, but their stay here in San Antonio is only beginning. News 4 San Antonio's Ethan Trejo has more on their journey. Ethan, good evening.
Well, good evening, Jonathan. That's right. All three of them are currently right here behind me at the Brooke Army Medical Center. They're all being cleared both medically and physically so that they can re-enter into their lives. Today, we spoke with some experts to get a little more perspective on what that might look like.
Looking forward to seeing my family down here and just recuperating from 5 years, 7 months, and 5 days of just absolute nonsense by the Russian government.
Those were some of the first words from one of the released prisoners, Paul Whelan, after he spoke to reporters late last night. Whelan spent 5 years in Russian custody, an experience experts say he and the other released prisoners are unlikely to forget.
There's no sense of their rights or their abilities and how it is that they're going to proceed in the future. And coming from that level of uncertainty is incredibly anxiety provoking.
We reached out to Brooke Army Medical Center to find out more about the government's reintegration program, but we have yet to hear back. But we did speak to Dr. Jason Miller, a licensed psychiatrist and emergency response director for San Antonio Via Center for Healthcare Services. He says the former prisoners will be checked for mental health issues following traumatizing experiences like this. Now that they're back, though, Miller says it will be difficult to not only reintegrate into society, but also reintegrate into their families.
Their experiences of it have been very different. And learning how to talk about that and learning how to talk about what they both went through is going to be critically important to them kind of getting back on the same page.
Moving forward, the first step will be to cope, a process Miller says will look different for everyone. One of the journalists, Evan Gershkovich, reportedly asked Putin for an interview following his release. Miller says the priority for the returned Americans will be to properly process their experience.
At some point, of course, they will need to take time for themselves to really process what's gone on. But early on, for some of them to kind of soldier forward and do their jobs as reporters may actually be therapeutic to them for a little while.
Well, as we said, there's no word yet on the current condition of those Americans, but as soon as we get those results, we'll be sure to bring them to you as soon as we can. From the east side, Ethan Trejo, News 4, San Antonio.
All right, Ethan, do keep us posted, sir. Overall, 6 countries released at least one Russian prisoner as part of the deal, and Turkey hosted the location for that swap. We've got a timeline of when the Americans were imprisoned. Paul Whelan was detained in December of 2018 after traveling to Russia for a wedding. Evan Gershkovich was arrested in March of 23 while on a reporting trip. Authorities claim that he was gathering secret information for the U.S., but they didn't offer any evidence. Also, Kermasheva traveled to Russia in May of 23 to help care for her mother until she was temporarily detained at an airport after trying to return home in June. The radio journalist was convicted in July for spreading false information about the Russian military. Be sure to stay with us for all the latest on this historic prisoner swap. You can also follow us along on our social media platforms. You can get the updates, breaking updates, in fact, by downloading our free News 4 mobile app and by going to our website, news4sa.com.